Well, the Bears needed a massive upgrade at wide receiver alongside DJ Moore, so they went and got a Charger receiver. Just not the Charger receiver anyone thought they were going to get. Welcome, everybody, to JG9 News, where we talk all things NFL all the time. I'm WR Keenan, representing the 904 from the 602, and today we are talking about breaking news that just came out of Chicago. According to Jay Glazer, the Fox NFL reporter, wide receiver Keenan Allen, after being with the Los Angeles Chargers for more than a decade, is now gone. He has been traded to the Chicago Bears for a 4th-round pick. I'm going to break down what this trade means for both the Chargers and the Bears, starting with Chicago. This is a monumental move for them, especially for a 4th-round pick. That is absolutely nothing in the grand scheme of things. Why the Chargers move on from him? Well, cap space, they were kind of screwed. The Chargers had some of the least cap space in the NFL. Entering the 2024 offseason, had to make some moves to get under the cap. They couldn't re-sign Austin Ekeler. Not that I think they were going to re-sign Austin Ekeler just because he was on the decline. Didn't play so well last year. They had to get rid of Mike Williams. And now they have to restructure the contracts of Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack to bring their pass rushers back. But they do take a massive hit on offense, free up some cap space, get some flexibility, and they trade a receiver on the wrong side of 30 to the Chicago Bears, trading the longtime veteran Keenan Allen to them. $34 million cap hit is what the Bears will incur. Now, you figure the Bears restructure him, get into a long-term deal. I'd be very surprised if this is a one-year rental. Having said that, even if they can't restructure him and they take on that $34 million cap hit, which would be absurd, but even if that is the case, the Bears have plenty of cap space to work with. They entered this trade with $56 million in cap space, some of the most cap space in the NFL, so they could easily pull this off. They had the flexibility to get a receiver of Keenan Allen's caliber, and they did that. The Bears obviously needed some massive help at wide receiver. They were thin going into the offseason. They got even thinner when Darnell Mooney went to the Atlanta Falcons on that 3-year deal worth $39 million, the same contract that Gabe Davis got when he left the Buffalo Bills to join the Jacksonville Jaguars. So outside of DJ Moore, Tyler Scott, the Cincinnati man, was the only other guy on the roster as of now who had more than 100 receiving yards last season in the NFL. That was it. The Bears really thin at wide receiver. The Velus Jones experiment has to be over. You got other guys that are just camp bodies. Colin Johnson has bounced around quite a few teams in the NFL. Was a Jaguar, was a Giant for a bit. You got some other guys there as well. But really, outside of DJ Moore and Tyler Scott, you had no one that I was confident was going to make the roster in 2024. Obviously, Keenan Allen, you insert him right into the starting lineup to pair alongside DJ Moore, with the goal being to surround Caleb Williams with as many receiving weapons as possible. Again, we are under the assumption that the Chicago Bears will take Caleb Williams first overall in the 2024 NFL Draft with that pick that they got from the Carolina Panthers in that trade made in 2023 when the Panthers went up and got Bryce Young. You want to give Caleb Williams as many weapons as possible. Give him an offensive line. Give him wide receiver help. And this is a massive wide receiver help. You give him a veteran wideout who is one of the top route runners in football. As for Keenan Allen at his time with the Chargers, he will go down as a top 3 wide receiver in Charger history, according to many. Ends his career with 904 catches, 10,530 yards, 59 touchdowns. If we're ranking the top receivers in Chargers history, you figure Lance Allworth has to be one. He's one of the top 5 receivers of all time. Minimum top 10. You figure Charlie Joyner at 2. But you can make a legitimate argument for Keenan Allen at number 3. Last season, even though it was a rough year for the Chargers, Allen played very well as is usual. 108 catches, 1,243 yards, and 7 touchdowns. You pair him alongside DJ Moore. It might be the best 1-2 combo ever at wide receiver for the Chicago Bears. Obviously, the Bears, not really a team known for their receiving talent. Lifetime Johnny Morris is the only player in Bears history with over 5,000 yards receiving for the team, and that was in the pre-merger era. The only other combo that might come close is what they saw in 2013 when they had Alshon Jeffrey and Brandon Marshall. That was a great combo. Both guys made the Pro Bowl. Both guys went on to have very good careers in the NFL and in Chicago for that matter. But outside of that combo, I really can't think of any 1-2 receiving combo that is better on paper than DJ Moore and Keenan Allen. As for the Los Angeles Chargers, well, it's very obvious now we know what direction they're going in at the NFL Draft. It's very obvious. with this move to trade Keenan Allen, to cut Mike Williams. Their top 2 receivers are no longer on the team. In terms of wide receivers that are actually talented, you got Josh Palmer. That's about it. Obviously, you're going to keep Quentin Johnson on the roster. He was god-awful last year, but he was a first-round pick. He might be a lost cause. You can't count on him. I wouldn't put him in the starting lineup. If he's in the starting lineup, either he's the most improved player in the NFL or something went horribly, horribly wrong. But you figure Palmer, Johnson, Darius Davis, their 4th-round pick from last year, didn't do a whole lot, only 15 catches for about 66 yards. Outside of those 3 guys, there's no one on the Chargers that I think is confidently going to make the roster. You need to draft 2 wide receivers and preferably high in the draft in the first 2 days. Fortunately for the Chargers, this is the year to do it. It's a very deep wide receiver class on paper. A lot of experts project anywhere from 6 to 8 wide receivers going in the first round, so we'll see how the draft board plays out. And on top of that, you have to figure that the Chargers made this trade because they might be feeling pretty confident about the Arizona Cardinals at pick number 4. I mentioned a rumor yesterday. Go check that video out if you haven't already. But there is a rumor that's been floating around NFL circles, according to Pretty Ricky, who is the guy that broke the Brian Burns trade, the guy that broke the Derrick Henry signing with the Ravens, the guy that broke the Calvin Ridley move to the Titans, that the Arizona Cardinals are in talks to trade the number 4 pick to the Minnesota Vikings so the Vikings can get J.J. McCarthy and get their quarterback. There's also talk that the Denver Broncos could be in talks with the Arizona Cardinals and get J.J. McCarthy as well. So there could be a very realistic scenario where the top 4 picks are quarterbacks for the first time ever. Obviously, the Chargers are still going to get a very good receiver at 5, regardless of what the Cardinals do. But if the Cardinals do trade out of that number 4 spot, it's going to be a quarterback that gets taken at 4, giving the Chargers the first player off the board that's not a quarterback, and giving them the rights to Ohio State wide receiver Marvin Harrison Jr., and obviously, new head coach Jim Harbaugh knows Marvin Harrison Jr. very well, having schemed against him for years at Michigan. So we'll see what happens with the Chargers. Obviously, I would be stunned at this point if they do not draft a wide receiver high in the NFL draft. I'd be shocked if they don't take a wide receiver at pick number 5, whether that's Marvin Harrison Jr. if the Cardinals do not trade, whether it's Marvin Harrison Jr. if the Cardinals trade that pick, whether it's Rome if the Cardinals keep that pick and take MHJ like a lot of people expect they will. If they keep the pick, remains to be seen. But the Chargers absolutely need a wide receiver because you cannot go into the season with Josh Palmer as your best option alongside Quentin Johnson and Darius Davis. And obviously, the Chargers, yes, if they drafted a receiver, they would have drafted a receiver in the first round last year with Quentin Johnson, but it is not unprecedented to draft a receiver in the first round back-to-back years. Case in point, the Philadelphia Eagles. 2020, they drafted Jalen Reagor. It didn't really work out. Howie Roseman knew his mistake. He realized that was a problem. And in 2021, he drafted Alabama wideout Devontae Smith. And obviously, that has worked out very well for Philly thus far. I could see the Chargers pursuing a very similar route, taking wide receiver pick number 5. They were probably going to do that anyways after they got rid of Mike Williams. And now the fact that they don't have Keenan Allen and their best 3 receivers are Palmer, Johnson, and Darius Davis, yeah, it's pretty obvious what they're going to do. It'd be very, very shocking if they don't take a wide receiver at 5. But what are your thoughts on this trade for both parties? Do you think it makes sense for the Chargers to clear up cap space and get rid of Keenan Allen? What are your memories of Keenan Allen as a Charger? Do you think he was good enough to get his number retired potentially? Over 10,000 yards receiving for the team. It is a possibility, especially if he makes the Hall of Fame. Do you like this move for the Bears? Do you like their receiving unit? Do you think the Bears need to still upgrade their receiving unit, get a few more bodies in there? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Do you like the compensation? Again, let me know everything down below. That's going to do it for this episode of JG9 News. Be sure you like and subscribe. Helps the channel out a lot. And be sure to check out my main channel, WR 9, where we talk all things NFL history all the time. Until next time, this is WR 9 signing off. And as always, go Jags.